Thanks, Malika. So thank you everyone for joining us this evening. Great to see so many people are interested to hear about BNP Paribas, who we are, and about our apprenticeship opportunities. So I just want to do a quick intro. I'm Rachel. I'm head of the early careers team at BNP Paribas. I've actually been with the bank for about 15 years in the HR side. And we're really great at promoting internal mobility. So starting out as a junior and being able to work, progress your career upwards is what I've done. Just to let you know, I didn't go to university. I went straight into work after school. I'm from New Zealand originally, so came over here and did some traveling and grew my career within HR from there. So I wish apprenticeships were around back when I was at school. So I think, it's a really fantastic career route to take if you're not thinking about going to university, or you think actually maybe being able to earn while I learn is something that will work for you. We've also got Beth on the call, who's also got the other sort of pink background. So Beth is our recruiter for the apprenticeships and some of our other early career programs. She's also the apprenticeship manager. So she looks after all of our apprentices that we have in the bank. So she's here to help facilitate the call today and also to ask questions as we go through it. Now, I can see some of you putting up hands and wanting to ask questions. We've got quite a lot of content to get through. So we're going to kind of spend the first 20 minutes going through about what our program is, or actually more about who we are, if you haven't heard who BNP Paribas are. Talk about our apprenticeship program and about the roles that we've got opening shortly for 2026. We're going to give you some information about the recruitment process and give you some CV tips, how it all works. And we're also joined by 3 of our current apprentices, where we're going to do a panel discussion. We've got some questions that we've pre-prepared to go through, where they can share about their own experience, and we'll take some Q&A in the chat function at that time. Then we're also going to leave about sort of 5 minutes at the very end of the session, where we're going to talk to you, for those who are in year 13, about an exciting 2-day work experience program we've got going on in February half term. So stick around to the end to hear more about that. So some of you might be thinking, who are BNP Paribas? I've never heard of you. You might have heard of us. Quite often people will recognise our logo because of the tennis. We sponsor the French Open, the Queen's Championship. Also, if maybe you've travelled over to Europe, you might have seen us on the high street, because we are one of the biggest high street banks, just like Barclays, HSBC, over in France and across the European continent. But actually in the UK, we don't have that presence. So some people don't quite know who we are. So tell you about who we are. So BNP Paribas, we are a leading bank in Europe, and we have an international reach. So we have a presence in about 65 countries and have more than 190,000 employees. So we're quite a big group, BNP Paribas. But where we work, we actually work for BNP Paribas Corporate and Institutional Banking, so known as CIB. And that essentially is the part of the bank where we work with big companies, we work with governments and other financial institutions. So sort of think of us as the big business side of one of the largest banks. And what we do, so we do financing. So we help companies who need to raise money to their investors. We do advisory. So maybe when a company wants to buy another company, or maybe they want to sell a division of it or expand into a new country, we give them the strategic advice and help them structure the deals to be able to do that. We've got markets and trading. So this is quite generically, quite often what people think of when they think of about investment banking. If you've seen Wolf of Wall Street, all that kind of stuff, having the trading floor. So that's the area where we're trading currencies, stocks, bonds, commodities, other financial products for our clients. And we also manage the risk that comes with making those trades. We also have a cash management services. So we provide tools that let large companies move and manage their money safely and efficiently around the globe. And what I want to say to you is, why does it matter? Why does it matter about what we're doing, investment banking? Well, the money that we help move every single day and the advice that we are giving to our clients help to enable huge projects. So that's things like building new factories, launching renewable energy parks. It could be funding public infrastructure such as bridges and airports. So in short, we're really the bridge between the world's biggest money needs and the capital that needs to be raised to make those projects possible. So in another way, a quick analogy, if you can imagine that, a sports team manager is the one who finds the sponsors, they're the ones that negotiate the contracts and make sure that the players have the right equipment to be able to do what they need to do. So for BNP Paribas CIB, we are basically that manager for the big scale businesses and the government projects. We're the ones who are handling the money side so that the players can focus on what they do best. But I want to point out that across the whole bank, there are hundreds of different roles. So there's trading and sales, there's research, there's IT, there's legal, there's marketing and communications, there's HR, human resources, compliance, risk, project management, and many more. And every one of those functions is essential for the bank to operate. Now, I don't know if any of you have seen or heard about the UN Sustainable Development Goals, but I just really want to run through these quickly because this is something that is really important to us. Our tagline as a bank is the bank for a changing world. So in plain terms, that means we try to shape the future by putting money behind ideas that protect the planet and help societies thrive. And we must be doing a pretty good job because we've won numerous awards for the work we're doing in sustainable finance. And that sustainable finance, that's about finance that supports projects that protect the environment and society. And we use these 17 sustainable development goals as our roadmap for doing that. So these goals cover everything from ending poverty and improving health to protecting oceans, forests, and tackling climate change. And by weaving these SDGs into every deal we make, we decide which companies get funding, which projects move forward, and which people we back. And obviously, climate is a top priority. The climate crisis is the biggest challenge of our generation. And as Europe's biggest bank, we feel a really strong duty to lead a shift to a greener economy. So our target is bold but simple, and that's a carbon neutral world by 2050. So to get there, we're moving most of our money into green projects such as solar farms, electric bus fleets, clean energy infrastructure, and more. But why should you care? You might be sitting there thinking, I wonder what a bank has to do with my life. And, if I was working in it, how could that contribute? And the answer is really that the money we're channeling decides which technologies are built, which cities become greener, and which jobs appear. And when we finance renewable energy or sustainable housing, we're directly shaping the world that you'll live and work in the future. So looking ahead, we've already earned several awards, as I mentioned before, for sustainable finance, but the work isn't done, and the road to 2050, it is long. And we'll need innovators, we'll need entrepreneurs, and you, the next generation, to help speed up that transition. So in short, we're using finance as a force for good and aligning every investment with the SDGs and driving the world towards a cleaner, fairer future. We need people like you to help us do that. So how are we getting, young talent into the bank? Yes, we do have our graduate programs and internships, but something that we're really proud about is getting involved with apprenticeships. So I was just going to give you a quick overview of what apprenticeships actually are if you're not familiar with the apprenticeship program. So it's a vocational method. So basically it means that you're gaining a qualification whilst you're working, and it is an industry recognised qualification. This is something that was introduced back in 2017 through the apprenticeship levy, which has basically been designed by the government to address and tackle the skills gap that we have in the industry and right across the country. And what it means is that companies that have a pay bill, so where they're paying, salaries of more than 3 million every year, they get a tax that they pay up into a pot of money for a levy, and they can only use that levy, that money that's in that pot, to pay for training of apprentices. Now, the apprenticeship courses are delivered on levels 2 to 7. And I'm going to go through that in a minute. And that mimics the UK education system. And it also covers a lot of different areas and topics. And the duration of the courses, that depends on the level of the qualification. It's anything from 1 to 4 years. And apprentices are given 20% of their working time to study towards their qualification. So our apprentices, they get 1 day a week to work from home or in the office to basically work on their portfolios, do their study, to basically go towards their qualification. Now, for us, we're a little bit different, excuse me, from some of the other banks where they will offer a level 6, so a degree equivalent qualification around apprenticeships. We only offer level 3 and level 4. So a level 3 is equivalent of 2 A levels, and a level 4, which is a foundation degree, is the first year of university. So we essentially do a 2-year fixed term contract for our apprentices, but at the end of that, if you successfully complete your qualification, you're able to apply for a role internally. And we've had our first cohort from 3 years ago who've gone through that, and many of them now are actually continuing their studies and going for the level 6 in their qualification. So it's just a way for us to be able to, you know, support young people coming into the business. You also make sure whether or not it's the right thing for you and you don't have that extra long commitment. But I just want to reassure you that we do support our apprentices to continue on with the qualification further. We just don't advertise at a level 6 through our marketing campaigns. So the areas that are going to be recruiting for our apprentices this year. So global markets is one of the most popular areas. So this is where it's on the trading floor, helping with our clients, working with the traders, the sales teams on different kind of transactions. That's the trading floor. Obviously, all the stocks and bonds and financial products are being done. So a very busy area. We've actually got Sarah on the call today who's working in global markets who can give you a little bit of more information about that. We've also got global banking. So this is basically the part of the bank that gives companies and governments a wide range of financing options that are best in market. And this is really the part that's about building long-term relationships with clients. So global markets is a little bit more fast-paced. Global banking is a bit, not to say slower pace, there's still lots to be done, but the projects are a bit longer. This is where you sort of see mergers and acquisitions, doing pitches, building those long-term relationships with our clients. We've got technology, obviously a very popular area. We're doing lots in the technology space at the moment within the banks, going to lots more sort of automation, the use of AI, all that kind of stuff. It could also be in terms of supporting the traders with the different apps and platforms they're working on. It could be in terms of IT support, being that kind of desktop go-to person when people need help with their hardware. We have security services. So this is basically a part of the company that is looking after all the back-end transactions for our clients. So they're kind of like a digital locker, we like to say. So they look after our clients in terms of handling the settlement of transactions, record keeping. They could do dividend collections for their clients. They might possibly do valuations. They work as that back office part to make sure that all the transactions are going through. We have compliance, and we've got Angelica today who'll be on the panel, who is working in compliance. Really, really important part of the bank. Obviously, we're regulated. There are different rules and governance and things that we need to make sure we are adhering to. So this part of the bank is making sure that everyone within it is adhering to those rules. So they provide the guidance, they check controls, they're running different monitoring systems, they're providing the training, and they're also the area that handles things such as whistleblowing. So where employees can effectively, you know, confidentially share information that they think someone might not be following the rules. They look at money laundering, market abuse, and other regulatory matters. legal. So we have our own legal team internally. So they're the ones who are playing the crucial role in supporting the bank to make sure that there is that compliance side, that we're also in terms of legal and regulatory standards and controls that we're adhering to. They might give expert advice and support across various activities within the bank. And then it might even be some of the different contracts we're going on with different clients. So they're really looking after the bank's best interests from a legal point of view. We also have HR, which is where Beth and I sit. So this is the area that's looking after the bank's most valuable resource, which is obviously its people. So our area is basically making sure that our employees have the tools, the support, and the environment they need to be able to do their jobs really well. So we're handling everything from hiring employees, employee relations, performance reviews, policy creation. It could be pay and benefits, training programs, all that kind of stuff. So the full employee life cycle, that is what HR is looking after. So in terms of the roles that we are going to be going live with on the 10th of February, these are the different areas that we've got. So we've got a level 3s are going to be a compliance and risk officer. There's 2 roles, one in security services and one in compliance. We've got a human resources support role, obviously working in human resources. And we've got a paralegal officer working in legal. And then on the level 4 side, we've got a software developer role that will be working in the technology team. And then we've got the investment operations specialist qualification, where we've got one in global markets and one in global banking. And we've also got Thomas on here today, who's doing that particular qualification in global banking. And as I said, we've also got Syra, who's doing the same qualification in global markets. Now I'm going to hand over to Beth, and Beth's going to talk you through about what our recruitment process is and the eligibility criteria.
Okay, so the eligibility criteria for all of our apprenticeships are: you must have the right to work in the UK, and you must have lived in the UK continuously for the past 3 years. You have not previously studied the course content of the apprenticeship that you decide to apply for. And the academic eligibility criteria, this does vary from each qualification and will be stated on each job description in terms of what you need to have for each area. But as we said, none of them are degree level apprenticeships, so you don't need to have had a degree before you start those apprenticeships. Moving on to the next slide. So the recruitment process, as Rachel said, it's opening on the 10th of February, and you will need to complete an application form, answer some motivational questions, and upload your CV. Then we will be doing the next round after that. If you make it through to that round, we'll be doing HR video interviews for an initial stage. And then the next stage after that will be an assessment day, and all details will be kind of explained about what that will entail to those that are successful to that stage. And then we anticipate that around May time we will have final offers to be made.
Great, thank you, Beth. I was just going to quickly say as well, we're going to be having Meet the Recruiter calls going on about our apprenticeship program, so we can circulate those, and those are really important to attend because we'll give you some further advice around application process, interviewing, and things like that. So keep an eye out for more communication.
So some tips for you in terms of to prepare to make your application stand out. So tips for your CV: make it brief and catchy. I would say no more than 2 pages. I think 1 page is fine, as long as you're kind of covering as much as you can. But yeah, two maximum. Talk about your interests and motivations. So I think what can be quite helpful is a little paragraph, like in that picture. I think there's a picture of a CV in that on that slide. You don't need to put your picture in there, but there's a little paragraph at the top that person's done, which is quite a good summary of why you kind of applied to that apprenticeship, why particularly you want to study that qualification. No photos, and use professional sounding email address. Share any relevant extracurricular activities that you've been involved with. Have you worked in a team or been a leader? So that also kind of refers to, if you've been in a sports team, you could put sports team membership skills down there. Have you held any part-time jobs? So any part-time jobs that you've had? Have you done babysitting? Have you done some tutoring? Anything like that? What skills did they give you? And how would they kind of relate to the role that you've applied to? Check, and check again. Make sure that you are checking each CV, each application that you're doing, but make sure that you're looking through the CV and you know, you're not using the same CV for every job application that you're doing. I'm sure that you might be applying to more than one, but making sure that you're tailoring each CV to the application that you are applying for.
And if you want more details, obviously there's quite a lot of advice that we can give around applications. We are now Meet the Recruiter calls. We go into this a little bit more in depth. So we'll make sure we circulate the registration form with you on that. But what I'm going to quickly go through now, thanks for that, Beth, is just actually about our program, and then we'll be getting onto our panel discussion very shortly. So in terms of the development support, on our program, if you're successful to get a place, we do 5 days of induction in the first week. Majority of our apprentices are people that have just finished their A-levels. So the transition from school into the workplace can be, you know, quite an eye-opener. So we want to make that journey as seamless as possible. So we have 5 days with you, helping you with the adjustment, giving you advice, guidance and support. You get a program mentor, so we hope that they'll be catching up with their mentor who's someone else not within their business area, help them broaden their network and understand the business more widely. We do roundtables, so bringing everyone together on a quarterly basis. There's loads of networking opportunities within the bank that they can, you know, go and participate in. We've got lots of sort of social clubs, things like that. And we offer additional training as required, because obviously there's a lot of learning going on the desk and doing the apprenticeship qualification. But if someone needed more advanced Excel training or PowerPoint or things like that, that's available too. Right, Beth, I think you're just going to quickly whiz through some frequently asked questions.
So, yeah, how many applications can I submit? You can apply for 1 apprenticeship role per intake a year. So make sure you choose wisely, but you can apply to 1. When do applications open? They open 10th of February and they close early March.
So we definitely recommend that you apply early, because we get, you know, nearly 2,000 applications last year for our roles. We only had 10.
Don't sit on your application.
So, yeah.
How do I choose which team? If you're invited to the assessment centre, you'll be given information about the different teams, because within the roles there might be different teams that you could be working in, and you'll be able to indicate your preference at that time. Will I have the job at the end of my studies? Once you successfully complete your studies, you'll be eligible to apply for a permanent role within the bank.
Yeah. Right, thanks for that, Beth. Okay, we're going to move into our panel session time now. So Syra and Thomas, I can't see you on my screen, but I'm assuming that you're probably somewhere and have got your cameras on. So if you just want to say a quick hi, we've got Syra.
Yep. Hi, everyone. My name's Syra, and I work in global markets at BNP, specifically in the GM sales team, where we support the operational needs of sales. And whilst doing that, I'm actually working towards a level 4 qualification in investment operations.
Lovely, thank you. And we've got Angelica.
Hi everyone, my name is Angelica and I work in compliance, specifically the controls independent testing team, which essentially is ensuring that our business adheres to external policies and regulations. and I'm working towards a level 3 compliance officer qualification.
Right, and we've got Thomas.
Yeah, hey everyone. I'm a global banking apprentice in the corporate broking team. I'll be there for the whole 2 years of the apprenticeship. In terms of qualification, I study the IMC, so that's from the CFA, and it's really related to a role, and I'll do that for 18 months.
Great, thank you. So I've got some pre-prepared questions here. So I've already done a little introduction, which is great, thank you. What we'd really like to know is, can you share why an apprenticeship appealed to you rather than following another route in higher education? Angelica, do you want to share your thoughts on that?
Yes. So I applied to an apprenticeship, and what appealed to me about an apprenticeship is the fact that I'm an active learner rather than a passive learner. And for me, it's about putting my theory into practice and learning on the job. And at the time in sixth form, I think I went to a school which really pushed for university. So learning about apprenticeships and the fact that I can learn whilst gaining a qualification is something that really stood out to me. And I think my dad really encouraged me, and my mum was also supportive of the fact that I'm doing an apprenticeship. So that's why.
Thank you. Syra, what about you? Because you had a little bit of a different journey into doing an apprenticeship.
Yeah, so during year 13, I wasn't entirely sure that university was the right next step for me. But I was lucky enough that my sixth form actually had a presentation on apprenticeships. So I did know that there was other options out there to continue with further education that offered a direct route into industry whilst also still earning a qualification. Then even then, after that, I took a gap year, and it was definitely during that I realized how valuable hands-on work could be. And it helped give me clarity about my career goals. Yeah, and then it pushed me to decide not to go to university and instead apply for an apprenticeship. So for me, it's given me the opportunity to combine real-world experience and further education.
Great, thank you. You're sitting on the trading floor at the moment, it looks like.
Yeah.
There's lots of screens blurred behind. Lots of screens on the trading floor. Thank you both for sharing that. What have actually been some of the challenges you've faced with transitioning into the world of work fairly straight out of school, and how have you overcome them? I'm going to give this one to you, Thomas.
Yeah, definitely. Time management, I say, is a big one. Definitely doing apprenticeships, you're balancing the study and the work. But I think just the work side, coming from sixth form where you have set periods, a set break and lunch, you're now in an environment where you have to make your own timetable, your own calendar. And someone said to me, and I think it's very true, but you're more now expected what to do rather than told exactly what to do. And that can be difficult sometimes, but you find your own rhythm, you find your own routine, and you make it your own.
Right.
And another big thing would be networking. I can at least speak for global banking. Networking is a huge part of the role, and the general business. That's how the managing directors bring in deals, and that's how you get to know other people around other teams. And naturally at sixth form, you may not be used to speaking to people from such wide variety of backgrounds, countries, universities. So maybe that can be challenging. I definitely found it being a bit big of a different thing. But it's really motivating once you do it and you get to know your network and other teams around you.
How did you kind of take those first steps, Thomas? Because you said, you know, doing it can get a bit easier, it can be a bit daunting. What were some of the sort of practical tips you did to kind of overcome that at first instance?
Yeah, sure. I think using my mentor was a huge thing. So obviously, as you mentioned at the start, we have a program mentor. And personally, mine is in real estate capital markets. So that's not my team, but he sits a little bit away from me to the point that he's surrounded by a lot of different people. So just in one of our weekly catch-ups that we have, I mentioned that I was looking to get to know other business lines, and he immediately introduced me to an associate in his team, which from then on, she's then introduced me to other people.
Great. So you're going to get the spider web of introductions happening everywhere, which can help break the ice. Great. Thank you.
Definitely, yeah.
Angelica, what about for you? What was challenging and what have you had to overcome? Because to be fair, I actually pointed out you all three of you only started at the end of last September. So you've only sort of been here 3.5, nearly 4 months. So you're still quite early into your journey already. So yeah, Angelica, for you, what was being challenging?
I think one of the hardest things was coming out, especially because you're surrounded by people your age. I think I struggled to interact with senior members in my team. Like I would overthink small interactions, like what can I say? I was really struggling with how they perceived me. And I think imposter syndrome was really a big one, because at moments I would think, what am I doing here? Did they make the right decision? And I think my confidence wasn't as high because I'm just quite new, quite fresh, and I felt like I was inexperienced compared to everyone on my team. But overcoming that, I think it's having those one-to-ones with your manager, just letting them know how you feel, how they can support you, how can they ensure that you're more comfortable in your team. And I think it's also taking it one day at a time, because you're an apprentice, like you're not expected to know everything. So I think every day you come into the office, your confidence gets better. And I think for the imposter syndrome and confidence, I think it's also just going for it and stop overthinking so much. Like if you've got a question, just ask it. Don't think in your head, oh, what are they gonna think? Is this a silly question? Because no question is a silly question. So just go for it.
Right. Thank you. I'm always interested to know what has surprised you about working in a large corporate bank? Because lots of people might have their own ideas what it might be like. Sarah, how's it been for you? What surprised you?
Probably one of the most surprising things is the global nature of the work. So obviously it's an international company, but really on a team level, you'll be collaborating with colleagues in different teams in different countries and continents. So that's been really eye-opening. It's quite funny. You'll talk to people on maybe even a daily basis, and then you realize they're not based in the country and you've never met them, but you've built a relationship with them. Another surprise has definitely been the level of responsibility that I've been given, even as an apprentice. Sometimes I think there might be misconceptions that apprenticeships are just about shadowing or small tasks, but since starting, I've definitely had the opportunity to take ownership of meaningful projects from early on. And it's definitely really rewarding to see how my contributions can make an impact directly on my team, but also on the business. So that's really accelerated my personal learning and definitely my confidence at work.
Lovely. Amazing. That's great to hear. Thanks, Sarah. I think, Thomas, you had something you wanted to share as well about what had surprised you.
Yeah, definitely. I think I would definitely echo what Sarah said. The amount of responsibility you're given so early on and so young is really surprising. It's easy to think that in such a large corporate bank that you would be, a small cog in this massive machine. But actually, each team does really impactful work. And at least from my experience, I've got to attend pitch rehearsals with really senior management. I've got to join calls with really senior research analysts in global markets. Being young isn't disadvantage, and actually a lot of the team have been surprised sometimes, and they've really valued that actually having someone younger sees things from a different perspective. Because naturally, especially in a role like mine where we're looking at the market a lot, we see trends differently to older people because we may have grown up kind of differently using, for example, AI. We may understand how the younger generation is using AI. And that allows us to really contribute meaningful opinions rather than kind of just sitting back and being maybe the typical stereotype of what people may think an apprentice is, but it's really not like that.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Thomas. Last question I'm going to propose to the three of you, and then we'll go to some Q&A. So hopefully you're putting questions in the Q&A that we can ask the apprentices. So the three of you, what advice would you give everyone who's on the call today regarding the application and recruitment process, going through it for any apprenticeship, or even actually if they decide they want to go on to university, but just going through the application, recruitment process, etc., that they need to be thinking about to help set them up for success? Angelica?
Yeah, so I would say my biggest piece of advice is just to be yourself and put in 100% effort in every single application and every single stage. And when I say be yourself, I mean as in tailor your application to you. Like, why do you want the role? What do you want to demonstrate to the employer? So for example, for me, I knew that at the end of this qualification, I would want to be able to say that I'm a qualified compliance officer. And even answering those motivational questions, and when I say tailor it to you, for example, I was in netball. So I said, okay, because I was in netball, it means that I have good communication skills. I can work in a team. And that's something that I communicated not only during my interviews, but also when answering the questions. So yeah, that would be my advice.
Great. And I'm just going to say, thanks for that, Angelica. I was going to say, I know quite a few people have got questions about the programme and we can answer those, but if you can put questions in for the apprentices, maybe about their experience and anything you might want to know, but things about the actual qualifications and stuff, we can do a little wrap up after that at the end. Thanks, Angelica. Sarah, what about you? What advice would you give?
Well, I know when I was applying for apprenticeships, one of the parts of the process that worried me was interviews. So my biggest piece of advice would probably just to be able to practice interviewing. And then for me, I found it helpful to brainstorm potential questions, not just the obvious ones, really think about what they'd ask, skills they'd look for in the role, and ways that you're able to demonstrate those. And if you're just able to draft concise answers or even bullet points for how you'd respond, it just calmed my nerves beforehand, because sometimes you're worried you might get into a situation and your mind will just blank. So if you have something to reference in the moment, you're never caught off guard. And I remember from my interview at BNP, even though I had those practice questions planned, and I went through a couple of them, after a while you just get into a flow and you're really able to enjoy the interview and it kind of becomes like a discussion.
Great, thank you. And Thomas?
Yeah, I would say number one thing for me is apply early. Obviously applications open early Feb, so have your CV ready, have your research done, be ready to apply as soon as it opens, because applications are done on a rolling basis and you want to give yourself the best chance. You want to be at the top of the pile so that your CV can be seen early. And when it comes to next stages, you'll be more prepared as you'll have more time to prepare.
Yeah.
Another tip would be to research the company and not just giving kind of blanket facts and figures, but direct things that really stand out to you. A good way of doing that is getting on LinkedIn. So you can message myself or anyone else within the line you're applying for. Ask some really specific questions, find some anecdotes, just find some unique things that really stand out. And then if you can link that to you and why that thing that interests you made you want to apply, then that will show you've really shown a lot of interest, and you've really thought about applying before applying. And ultimately for you as well, if the bank will be right for you.
Right. Thank you for your advice and tips on that. So just looking through the Q&A and some questions, Ralph has asked, are the hours tough and how much time a week do you put aside for the studying aspect? So I'm not going to get all of you to answer, so I don't know who would like to take that. I think maybe, Thomas, do you answer this because you're doing global banking, which is a bit different, and Angelica working on functions. Compliance, that might be a bit different. So Thomas, what
Yeah,
are
I'm
your
happy.
sort of working hours?
I'm happy to go first. Yeah, obviously, investment banking is stereotyped as having very long hours. And as you get more senior, you may be expected to do that depending on your team and your role. However, as being an apprentice, you're only expected to do 8 hours a day. There is no expectation to do more as you're here to learn and manage the qualification. And the business is really supportive of that. Obviously, capacity, if you need to finish a project, there's flexibility to stay an hour or maybe come in an hour early, or if you want to stay after and do your study. But ultimately, it's up to you, and you're only expected by the business to do 8 hours. And there's full support in that, definitely.
Yeah. And all three of you, can you just answer me, what's your regular start time?
So I typically do about 9 to 5:30, but I like to get in about half hour early so I can settle in.
Yeah, thank you. Sarah?
I usually get in 8 to 8:30, just depending on like public transport. Usually leave around 5 to 5:30, just depends.
Yeah. Angelica, I'm guessing you're about the same.
Yeah, I just do the 9 to 5, come in a few minutes early to set up, and then I'm out the door at 5.
Great. Okay. And we've got Henry's asked, how much responsibility do the apprentices actually take on during the apprenticeship? Well, I guess these three have only been here for 4 months, but I don't know, do one of you want to share, either Angelica or Sarah, you were mentioning it. Is there something that you can kind of share within reason that you've taken a bit of ownership on?
Yeah, so when I first started, there were a couple tasks that my team were able to delegate to me. So one of them is, I'm trying to think of something that I can explain. So obviously in sales, salespeople make revenue and it's referred to as CC. So it's the amount that they make from their sales. And in operations, we spend a lot of time looking at that and analysing it. So every month we look at the CC generated and we compare it quarter to date and year to date, and then we send it off to finance and it's kind of reviewed by senior management. So it's my responsibility monthly to compile that report and send it off. And in December, I was able to help my manager on a project to do with RWA, which is risk-weighted assets. So we're looking at the CC to RWA of strategic clients at the bank and coordinating that with sales and other departments. So maybe not so much the first couple weeks or even the first month that you start, but the longer that you spend on the team, you'll definitely be given more responsibility.
Yeah, great. Thank you. We've got a few questions coming through. I'm just trying to pick out the ones that are more for the apprentices. I'm actually going to get the three of them to share because Kieran's asked, what extracurriculars do you most recommend to boost your application? We've actually got a video coming out shortly that actually shares Angelica and Thomas are on it, actually talking about some of the things that they did at school. And Beth, you can chip in afterwards about what you see. But Thomas and Angelica, do you just want to share like some of the things, extracurricular stuff that you did when you were at school? I'm not necessarily saying towards that would boost your application, because it is really hard when you're in year 13, you know, there's probably more sports or volunteering or different things like that. But what are some of the things that you featured on your CV that you felt would help your application?
Yeah, I'm happy to go first. I'd say get a part-time job, or if you already have a part-time job, do your best to kind of speak to as many different customers as possible. Do your best to kind of just kind of take on more responsibility as possible, because I think just having really solid communication skills will set you up well in interviews and throughout the process. In terms of extracurriculars as well, if you've got a hobby, if you play an instrument, you're part of a sports team, you know, just really show that in your CV. It's not something to hide. You know, the bank doesn't like people that, just fit in one box. They like people to be different, have different opinions. So to show that in your CV and in your interviews, definitely.
Right. Angelica, do you remember what you included on your CV that you think was helpful?
On my CV, I included that I was a mental health ambassador at school. So that was just communicating with younger peers and pupils, just talking a bit about how they feel, how I can help them out in any way, shape or form. And quite similarly to that, I was a mentor as well. So that was more educational based, like helping pupils make a timetable, helping them study where I could. And also outside of school, I volunteered at a charity that I still do regularly. It's just helping out with younger pupils, playing games with them, talking to them as well. And I was a part of the netball team, which I included on my CV as well, which I spoke about a bit earlier about teamwork, collaboration, and communication.
Great, thank you very much. I'm just having a quiz here. What you value the most from your experiences? We've had a question of what have you valued the most from your experiences currently as an apprentice? Ooh, one off the top. Who'd like to answer that first? What have you valued most about your experience so far? Well, what have you enjoyed the most so far?
I'm happy to answer.
Twice will go first. Give the other two a chance to think.
I've enjoyed just getting to know my team. Being the youngest in the team can be hard, but everyone kind of takes you under your wing, and it's kind of this, like, in my experience at least, it's like this little brother type relationship with everyone. Everyone's so supportive. So the most valuable thing is kind of feeling that kind of integration into the team. We've had team events, we've gone to an escape room, meals, 2 Christmas parties, but then also training wise it's quite rewarding. I got to go to Bloomberg head office to do some training. I'm going to a law firm in a couple of weeks to do some training. There's just so many kind of extra things that you don't see when you apply first.
Thank you. Anyone else want to share? We'll move on to the next question.
I can go.
Oh, yeah, you can go ahead.
No, that's fine. Actually, kind of following off what Thomas said, I think thinking back now, one of the things that I enjoy most coming into work every day is just the opportunity to learn. Obviously, I've only been here a couple months, and there's so many things that I still don't know. But encountering them and then taking the time to research and find out more, especially if you're interested in finance, it's really interesting in markets, learning about all the different financial products, even if you don't gain the most in-depth or have the most in-depth understanding of them at the moment. So yeah, the learning opportunities is just a very interesting environment to be in.
Right. Angelica?
It's quite similar to what both Sarah and Thomas said, learning, because I genuinely enjoy what I do. And as in opportunities, I didn't realize how many opportunities there would be at the bank. For example, badminton club, like that's something I really enjoy doing on a Monday, climbing clubs on a Wednesday. And that's something that from first glance, you wouldn't know is available to apprentices. And I think building my network as well, through different network committees. So that's definitely something that I've really enjoyed so far.
Right, thank you. Now I'm conscious we've only got about 10 minutes left of the call, and we obviously want to go through the last bit about our work experience opportunity. But Beth, I'm just going to quick fire some questions to you around some of the questions we've got here. Are there opportunities to work abroad as an apprentice?
So not initially. The apprenticeship roles that we advertise are for London only and for a basis in London, but that's not to say that post apprenticeship, if you secure a permanent role in the bank, internal as Rachel said, is really excellent across all the offices. It's not to say that you could eventually move into a different role into a different country, but for the apprenticeship that we've got open, they are just for London only.
Yeah, thank you. And how much work experience related to the apprenticeship is required to stand out?
I wouldn't say necessarily work experience is necessary to stand out, but you definitely need to have evidence of interest into that particular apprenticeship. So if it's a technology one, are you doing computer software at school? Are you doing anything on the side in terms of any coding classes you've done, anything like that, so that it shows an interest in the space? Or if you're interested in banking, have you done any of the kind of free job simulations online, any of the Bloomberg courses, anything like that that show an interest in that field? So I need to see from your CV that there's an interest and why you want to work in that area that you've applied to. It's not necessarily work experience that's needed in that field, but I need to see interest, evidence of interest.
Yeah. Great. And there's some eligibility criteria that we'll go through because for our year 13 work experience opportunity, but yes, for our apprentices, oh, I don't know if I'm still here, Beth. My gateway's just, I might blip out for a sec.
Oh. I think she's gone. I'll just answer a couple more of his questions that she was going for. What are some of the key hard and soft skills that interviewers are looking out for? So, I mean, in terms of hard skills, I wouldn't say at this stage, again, hard skills are really, if you do have them, great, that are relevant, then obviously put them on, but it's not essential. And soft skills, it's really that kind of communication skills, teamwork. Oh, you're back now. And yes, some communication skills, teamwork skills, any leadership things you've done, time management skills, those kind of things, they're really, really important. But make sure you look at the job description that you're applying to really carefully, really look at what skills they're looking for and try to relate your CV to that role. Rachel, I was just answering one last question and you're going to talk about the work experience.
Yes, we have a 12-hour window on our VPN connections and I'm not normally on at this time, so I had to reset. So thanks for bearing with and thanks, Beth, for carrying that on. I'm mindful we've now got only 6 minutes left. So we just want to quickly go through about our year 13 work experience opportunity that we're doing over the February half term. So this is a 2-day work experience opportunity that will be taking place on Wednesday the 18th and 19th, so Wednesday 18th and Thursday the 19th February, and it's from 9:30 a.m. till 4:30 p.m. each day, and it will be at our BNP Paribas London office, and we're situated near Marylebone Station. Now, some reasons why should you apply? Well, you'll be 2 days coming into the office. You'll get a real life look at how, a leading global bank works and learning about the variety of roles within it. Obviously, it's fantastic to have on your CV showing that you've had hands-on experience with project work, going through mock interviews. You'll get to network with different business leaders, our current apprentices. Hopefully, Thomas and Siren, Angelica, and a lot of the others will be there, and also get to meet the recruiters. And there's also a fast track opportunity. So for high performing participants that we identify, they may be invited to go directly to our apprenticeship assessment centre in April 2026. So it is a really great opportunity for us to be able to be finding, the young talent, those people that are really passionate about taking on an apprenticeship, who have potential. Come and join us for a 2-day work experience. And you never know what could happen. So in terms of who can apply, so you currently have to be in year 13 and considering an apprenticeship to start in September 2026, because that's when our apprenticeships start. We've obviously gone through already about what the apprenticeship roles will be, but we can circulate further information about that. People have been asking about what are the requirements in terms of your studies. So for any of the level 3 and level 4 apprenticeship qualifications, you need to have a minimum of 5 GCSEs. They need to include maths and English, and you need to have a grade between A to C or a level 4 to 9. You have to have lived in the UK for the last 3 years, and you must be able to demonstrate an interest in finance or the specific apprenticeship area that you're interested in applying for. And you must be able to attend both days of the program. We have limited spots on this program. So if you're not able to commit attending both days, please do not apply. We do not want one of these places to be wasted on someone who can only apply for the first day. So yeah, that is what we will be doing. There's the QR code there on the screen. So if you would like to apply, all it is going online, completing the questions on the form. We want to know a bit about you, what's motivating you to be involved in this work experience opportunity, maybe why you're interested in apprenticeships. There's about 4 questions, I think, on there, and upload your CV. So have a think about some of the things that Beth went through earlier on in the presentation. And successful candidates will be confirmed by the 6th of February. So you'll know in good time whether or not you have received a place on the programme. The deadline to apply is the 1st of February. Obviously, we need to go through and screen all the applications, and then it will just be us looking at your answers and your CV. There will be no interview to get a place on this. It will just be us going through that. So if you have attended the call today and you're wanting to apply, make sure that you attended the session, that's on your CV. That's a really great thing that you could be adding, because it shows again that you're interested in doing an apprenticeship and you're interested in our business. Beth, is there anything else you need to add on that?
Nothing else, no.
Yeah, we've tried to answer as many questions as we can. As we say, follow me on LinkedIn, follow Beth, follow the apprentices. I'm sure they'd love to hear from you. I post on my personal LinkedIn page all the Meet the Recruiter calls, all the information about all the early career opportunities that we're doing, events that we've got going on. So connect with me, follow me, and you'll get information about that. But otherwise, it's been a real pleasure today to be here with you all. Thank you so much for joining us this evening, and also thanks to our apprentices. And yeah, I'll hand it back over to you now, Malika.
Thank you so much, Rachel and the team. That was really, really insightful. And there were so many questions that we didn't get down to. So don't worry, we have collated all of the questions and we will share them with BNP Paribas at a later date. Don't forget, you will get the YouTube recording to your inbox tomorrow morning, as well as the link to apply for this work experience, as the deadline is the 1st of Feb. You'll only get that link if you are in year 13. And don't forget that applications for the apprenticeship also open on the 10th of February. If you have any questions at all about how to make your application stand out, or if you need any help with anything, don't forget we've got over 50 mentors on our website that are happy to answer your questions, and I've popped a link in the Q&A if you want to go and have a chat with any apprentices and get any advice on what you need. But thank you once again. We hope to see you at another one, and even if you don't have any work experience, events like this is a great way to show your commitment to the company that you want to work for, your commitment into finance. And so please post your certificates on LinkedIn, tag us, tag Rachel, tag Beth, and all these lovely apprentices. And it's little things like this that really help you stand out. Good luck to everyone with your applications, and have a lovely evening. Thank you again.